Well, I'm very honored to be asked to talk to you today. Some of you might recognize me from the homeowner webinar series. I put that on throughout the year. I've been to, like Wendy said, many different county extension offices to help with design or demo gardens. I give lectures on Florida friendly principles and sometimes design. Like Wendy said, I have a master's in landscape architecture from the University of Florida. I have also an undergrad in psychology, which is actually, you'll see in this presentation, is a pretty cool degree to have to supplement the design degree. I've been a landscape architect for about 21 years. I've worked both in private practice and now in academia. In private practice, I was in St. Augustine and had a chance to work on a wide variety of projects. So being a landscape architect for this long, I sat down to write this presentation on PowerPoint, and I stopped and I thought, I have never had to put this into words before. I've never had to describe a creative process that is very intuitive to me, and how what things go into it, and how to put FFL in so that it is successful. So what I did is, I started just listing things. I thought about what I've learned in the design process, elements of good design and functionality. And then I put those all together and look at them through an FFL lens. So I will take you through the design process that landscape architects do. And actually the design process, can be architects do it, car designers do it. It's a universal process for designing things. And so I'll take you from start to finish and demonstrate how Florida friendly can be applied to each step and each goal of a landscape plan. I know when you have Gail or have Dr. Hansen for a speaker, she gives you like kind of tidbits of design information. This project or this presentation is more of a holistic approach to Florida friendly success and design, and it requires more than just adding the Florida friendly principles to the end of a design job or to the last step. This process looks at layering Florida friendly principles into design from the very beginning of the process and in every goal of good design. True FFL's design success happens when you have layers of FFL. And like I said, it's not just a top dressing, it needs to be put into every part of your design. You can use this process for a new design. You can use it on your own landscape, to retrofit it. If you're thinking of designing a new landscape, you can go ahead and use this process and come out with a master plan that you can implement piece by piece. It is, like I said, this is a process for design at every scale. So master plan communities all the way to a landscape bed. It's something that I actually had to, like I said, really think about. And I came up with sort of, I took the title of this talk and kind of broke it down for myself so I could explain it to you. Landscape design is a step-by-step process that results in a healthy, functional, and pleasing landscape. So if you can think and put in the chat, think about your favorite landscape. What makes it your favorite landscape? And I'll wait for like a couple seconds because I just can't stop talking. And I don't know if I have the chat on either. is. Okay, so color is one. Vibrant colors, variety of plants, simplicity, aesthetic, layers, textures, and colors, organic forms and balance. We're going to talk about all of these things. And we are going to talk about them in the step-by-step process under the goals of ecological health and preservation, social, site, and ecological function, aesthetic and comfort, and level of maintenance. These are 4 goals that you should always strive to maintain, to have in your landscape, in any landscape. And then I went for FFL success is achieved when the principles are considered at every step in the design process and in every goal that you consider in each step. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so design goals. And then we have information. And that equals the design steps and products. So you will take the design goals, information that you collect, and it will create a product that you can build upon to get your final design. Like I said, ecological health and preservation, functional, site, social, and ecosystem, aesthetics like psychology and emotion, and maintenance like ease and nature-friendly maintenance. So for ecological health, the information we need is the first step in landscape design. It is site inventory, and we'll go through each of these separately. Function, you want to know what your client or what you needs, wants, values, and expects in your landscape in order to make it functional for you. The aesthetic portion, we talk about design principles and elements, and I'll go through it really quick. And you know that Dr. Hansen has a lot of EDIS documents on this. You will see a few of her drawings, and the concepts are basically the same. I'm just sort of explaining it in a different way. And then, of course, we have maintenance, and we need to know about maintenance practices and ease. And for all of those, we need to apply Florida-friendly principles. Okay, so this is your information. Now, the design products, or what you come out of this with, when you do your site inventory, you make a site analysis from it. And then from your client interview, you develop a program or what is going to be in the design. And together, with those two together, you create a bubble diagram of function, of what functions are going to be where on the landscape based on the site analysis and the design goals. Once you get the bubble diagram, you use all of the things in the bracket to come up with a conceptual design and then a final design. So that I'm going to talk about the process and the goals within the process. And so here I have highlighted the actual steps to the process so you can see. The first thing we need to do is to gather some information and educate ourselves. We need to know, of course, the county codes, the HOA codes, the design principles and elements, FFL principles, and then finally you need to locate your survey or some kind of site map, preferably to scale so that you can correctly draw the sizes of things on your plan. And I use trace paper or trash paper, they call it. Comes in rolls, and it's great to draw on, and you draw as much as you want on it. And so those are the things you sort of need to start. Now, with the first step with site inventory is you're basically asking the question, what is on the site? You're not giving it a good or bad rating necessarily, maybe except for views, but you want to document everything that is on your site. For example, existing vegetations and conditions. This in the site analysis, or what does the site inventory mean, it'll give you opportunities and constraints. It will tell you, the existing condition of the vegetation, will tell you whether to keep, remove, or relocate plants on your site. The existing hardscape and conditions, again, keep, remove, or even reuse the hardscape material that you're going to demolish. Of course, soil types and drainage. We're going to use that to locate standing water, dry spots, and fix issues with drainage. Let's see, pH and soil health, of course, is right plant, right place, and plant choices. So you know where you can plant certain things. Maintenance areas, you ask yourself, do I need to screen them? Do I need more of them? What am I doing maintenance-wise that needs a place in my landscape? Utilities, you want to get underground, above ground, all of your home utilities, like your air conditioner, your sprinkler system. You want all of those on the map so that you know not to dig deep where there is an underground power line, or your water main, or any number of things that you can dig into, and also the overhead utilities, so you don't plant a very tall tree under an overhead power line. We've all seen what happens when they trim holes in them. Views, you want to consider views from your house. And I'm talking with this whole program about design on a residential scale. So we're talking about, your lot with a house on it. You want to consider views from your windows out, from the street in, from your neighbor in the backyard in. Where are good views? Where would you like to save the view? Where would you like to screen? High and low points in the landscape gives you an insight into the drainage patterns and the runoff, so that you can start thinking in, all of these are really FFL principles, and you can start thinking in more detail about some principles, especially runoff. So high and low points will help you create drainage patterns to keep the runoff on your site. Of course, light conditions, which is, plant choices, or do you need to provide shade for a certain human area? Microclimates, again, such as, do you need to buffer the wind and salt spray? Is it a warm or cool area? And then, of course, setbacks, build-tos, and right-of-ways. You need to figure out if you are allowed to build there or plant there. Sometimes if you plant there, they are allowed to dig it up if they need to do maintenance. So you need to figure out all of those things. So that's site inventory and site analysis. Here is a really quick animation. Vegetation. These are both, of course, site inventory on the left, and then site analysis on the right. These are Dr. Hansen's drawings. So what I'm doing is showing you on the site inventory things that I would note on my site inventory, and then what it means on the plans when you draw your site analysis. So existing shrubs, existing trees are healthy, so she's keeping existing trees. She's replacing existing shrubs in both the front and the back. So she's made a decision based on the site inventory. Maintenance, where is your maintenance? And do you want to keep it there? Do you want to move it? Do you need more? So she decided to keep the work area. Utilities. So here are the utilities on the site: above ground, underground. There's air conditioner, probably another air conditioner, and she decided, for at least for this above ground utility or box, that she would screen it with shrubs. So it's sort of a map, a pathway from what you have to what you want to do with it. We have views. So there's an open view from the street front, there's views from the house, and she said a good view from the backyard. So she wants to keep the views open and keep the view from the street open. Drainage are all these little squiggly arrows, and the pluses with the HP is the high point. There are slopes, water from the downspout, So you sort of determine where your water is running to. Here's a low area. So here she decided that she was going to fill the low area. You can decide that it needs a rain garden there. You just need to know that there is that low area that you have to deal with, environmentally or site-wise. Here she's maintaining the swale, and there's putting a rain garden, redirecting water that goes into the driveway through a downspout. Again, another, these are all FFL related issues, and you want to apply your knowledge of FFL issues to your site analysis and how you're going to solve the problem. And during this presentation, I'm not going to talk a lot about specific principles. I'm going to remind you what to ask and remind you what to look for in each stage, because I know that you know how to pick the right plant for the right place. And I know that you know how to deal with drainage or how to redirect something. I know that you know the principles and that you follow them because I've talked to so many of you, and you're also knowledgeable and smart. You get it. So here we talk about lighting, like shade and high sun areas. There's another high sun area. So here she wants to add trees for shade. Here, trees for shade. Oh, let me go back. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so that was site analysis and site inventory. The next part is creating a program. A program is just a list of things that you want to include in your landscape. And I suggest that you go through, if you're doing this for yourself, exactly these questions. Don't jump ahead and start just naming off things. You really have to think about things like the family composition. So when I design a residential landscape, I think about the roles of the people in the house. Is it a two-parent family, a one-parent family? What are the ages? If there are kids, are there pets? Is there a multi-generational family? So, older grandma and grandpa, do they live there? And then I ask the family, what do they do in the yard now? So like entertain, play, relax, and gardening. And how's that going for you? Do you think that what you have is functional? Do you want everything that you do in your yard now? So if you garden, do you still want to keep your vegetable garden? If you play and there's a play structure, are you keeping that, or do you need a new one? Do you want it to be a different type of play? So what they do in their yard now. And then any special needs are non-negotiables. These include things like allergies. You want to know what they're allergic to. Accessibility. Does anybody in the household, are they in a wheelchair? Are they a fall risk? Are they, do they need a ramp? So this accessibility dictates some of the elements that are in your design and some of the final materials that are in your design. So it affects both concept and final design. Are there health conditions? For example, I get super sunburned when I'm outside for 15 minutes. So that's sort of my health condition. I want shade. So I'm gonna request shade in my landscape. And then the maintenance level. Who is maintaining? Who is, how long do they have to maintain and how often? So often maintenance level is a non-negotiable, and usually it's at low maintenance. So you're still getting to know your client or yourself. You want to ask about needs, wants, and values. Needs are the things that you have decided on the site analysis that might need to be fixed or addressed. And I talk about it mostly in an ecological sense because you can have your wants all you want, but these are the things that really need to be worked on so that the site can be functional. So erosion control, that if you have erosion, that should be on your site inventory. Drainage, how is that going to work? Does the hardscape need repairing? Is there tree work to be done? Do you feel safe and secure at your house? And that is a need. You need to feel safe and secure, and there are ways to design to feel safe and secure. Do you need fencing, like for a pet or for privacy? Shade, like I said with me, I need shade. And then it's the wish list. What are the wants? You want a pool, a fire pit, a vegetable garden, a specimen garden. And I say specimen garden because, Tom Wickman brings home plants from the nursery and, puts them in his garden. You can design a place, a specialty garden or a specimen garden, where all of those plants go into one area instead of putting them, here and there where it might not make, sense in an order fashion. Again, the maintenance levels, what plant types do you like natives, or do you like blooms, your favorite color? Do you want wildlife? Those are things that clients want. And there is a difference between need and want. Need, you really have to address. Want is something that you decide in the next slide based on the budget. So the last thing is the client's values. And this was something that I added late. And I thought, because, I recently started investing, and my financial advisor said, this is an opportunity for you to spend your money on things that are very important to you, on things that you either use every day, or the way you live, or the way you think, and what you want to contribute to that cause. So of course I am all into electric vehicles and water resources. But for clients' values and landscape, are you into sustainability? Is that one of the themes of your landscape? Is it natives? Is it self-sufficiency, meaning you want to grow your own food, you want a food forest? Is low input, maybe, where you don't have to fertilize and water, and that is something that you feel very strongly about. And then there's also the idea of nostalgia, and that can also be a need or a want. I think nostalgia is very important to a place. It is a design element that makes people feel comfortable. And part of a big part of a good design is the psychology of the design, and the fact that when you think of your favorite place and you walk into it, there is a feeling that you get, and a response that you have to a place. And good design, you might not even realize you have good design, because there are no issues that you are thinking about when you're walking through. Bad design, when it's a bad design, because you are having to walk on the grass to get to a different area. The circulation isn't right. It's too busy. But there are things like nostalgia that helps you feel comfortable in your place. And I think in this presentation, there are the reason I'm really explaining good design is because good design can make you feel comfortable, like I just said, in a space. It can elicit emotion and feelings. And for the people that we design for, and the people that we talk to and teach, some of them aren't comfortable in nature. And it takes being comfortable in nature to like nature. If you like nature and find it of value, you are more likely to protect it. And that is part of the thing we're doing with FFL. We are we want people to get out in nature, and we want them to change their beliefs and attitudes about how they react and interact with nature. So good design is also part of, like I said, part of FFL. So that is why I'm sort of explaining design quite a bit along with FFL. So the last part, and we'll go through this quickly because there are other more important things. What is the budget? You always have to know your budget. it's always going to be more expensive than you think it is. It's affected by the current site conditions. Do you need demo? Do you need regrading? Do you need irrigation? And then budget is affected by the features you choose, the materials you choose, and the timeline. So if you have a really quick timeline, you want it like next month, you're going to pay more for it. And then if you can't afford all of your want list, there are compromises. You need to remove some features, or like I said, you can design your whole yard the way you want it and then put it into phases. So you can afford, a certain amount each year and put that money, that you might buy the random plant into a plant that goes with your design. Like I said, timeline, if you want faster, it's more expensive. And then the expectations, you have to manage your expectations. People have a way that they want their landscape to look, but they don't always get that because of their budget. They also know that they want it at a certain time, and landscape contracting takes time. It takes, types of services that may or may not be available at the time, may or may not be more expensive than others. The quality of material. Some people, that's very important, and they'll take less, features and spend money on quality. And then, of course, to manage expectations when you're talking to a client, you want them to bring in photos of things that they like, their architecture. And then you try to wrap it all up and give them an idea of what they can afford for their budget and manage their expectations. So what I have just done is site inventory, site analysis, and program development. And so we had the client interview, and that determines the program development. And you just make a list of all the things that you have decided you want in your yard based on those questions that you answered. That is all pre-design. And now we're going to go to, this is kind of pre-design, kind of design. You want to do a bubble diagram. And, if you Google, and I couldn't use a lot of the pictures I wanted to because I'm not licensed to use them and they're not mine. But if you Google bubble diagram landscape, you'll see a ton of different ways that people determine what function they want in which place on their landscape. So you do this over, like this, Dr. Hansen has diagrammed the current uses of the site. Here, she, according to the site analysis, where the ecological things that need to be fixed and the environment, and then the program equals her bubble diagram. So up here, if you remember in the site analysis, it was wet. It was a wet area. So she's adding a drainage feature. I think like in this picture, the play area is like way off to the side. Here, maybe the thought was, you can see the play area from the patio. That might have been a request. Let's see, and then where you want your planted areas. There, they have a dog. They want a dog run. Where can they put that dog run? And then where your work area is. So we are thinking about site analysis, which is environmental opportunities and constraints. The program is what you need on your site to function socially and environmentally and have the things that the client wants on the site. The bubble diagram describes how the site functions physically. So where things are placed, where the elements are placed on the site. So what I'm going to do is introduce conceptual design, so that you can see that these steps are all layers that build on each other. And sometimes I even design like that. I'll put a piece of paper over my bubble diagram, and then and the bubble diagram is over my site plan, and I'll sketch out a conceptual design. So in more now than ever in conceptual design and in final design, but here's where most of a lot of the magic happens. You want to think of your site conditions, the function of your landscape, the aesthetics, and the maintenance, the 4 goals that we talked about at the beginning. So the goal of your conceptual design is to provide the basic form of your landscape. You do not want to pick out species. You don't want to pick out finishes or tile, specific tiles. And you're going to use the design principles that I will explain in the next slide to place and order your features based on what you've determined to be personal style, the program, and the ecological and maintenance needs. When you do that correctly, and when you follow the principles and the elements, you get a design that is cohesive and ordered, and a place that makes sense to humans. It's very uncomfortable to be in a place where you can't tell what's going to happen, or you can't predict what the next thing is. So the features and elements and principles really order the things that are in your landscape, the features that are in your landscape. And of course, we want to create comfort and ease through design structure. That is a big, that's like the bones of conceptual design. We want to make sure that our features are placed in a sense that they make sense and are comforting to the client. So we also, again, want to use FFL principles to make environmentally sound choices when considering both the conceptual design and the final design. One thing I forgot to say about the program is that is an opportunity, if you are working with somebody else, to suggest environmentally friendly or FFL principles as part of the design. So you would ask, what's your take on turf? How much turf do you need? Well, I'll just have the whole yard backyard turf. Well, you can ask, do you really need that? Like, what are you going to do back there? How are you going to use that space that is functional, especially if you are maintaining it with, precious natural resources? So I forgot to say that is a way to put FFL into the interview for your client. Okay, so I'm going to take a break from the steps and explain design elements and principles. This you may have heard from Dr. Hansen. She's really good at explaining this. She's a professor who does it every semester. I am somebody who had to think really hard about what I consider when I design a space. So the design elements are represented by features, which are plants and hardscape materials, like planters and vases, vase and a bench, and all the things that you can put into a landscape. And their features can be described by their visual qualities. So we have 5 visual qualities and 5 elements, the first 2 of which you are going to make the basis of your design, your conceptual design. So on your conceptual design, you want to make spaces that are made of lines. For example, you're going to draw lines, and there are straight lines and curved lines, vertical lines and horizontal lines. They create an infinite variety of shapes and forms, and lines control the movement of the eye and the body. A line can even be the intersection of 2 materials. So like right here, there's a line. It's a curved line. Like I said, curved line. And then straight lines are more structural and forceful. They create a more formal and symmetrical design. They can also lead the eye to a focal point. And you see them most in hardscapes. Curved lines are thought to be informal, natural, relaxed in character, and more asymmetrical. It moves the eye at a slower pace. It adds mystery by creating hidden views like back here. So what is the difference between this curved line and this curved line? It is the geometry and the edges of the space. Geometry is part of form, which is the 3D thinking in your design. But let me go back to vertical and horizontal lines first. You are not only drawing on right now you're drawing on a 2D sheet of paper, but you're thinking 3D. So vertical lines, of course, move the eye up and down. They make a space look larger. And when I mean vertical lines, I mean like maybe a line that is made by a tree or the side of a building or some other, gazebo, some other element that has height. Horizontal lines move the eye along the ground plane and can make a space feel larger. It also creates a feeling of rest and repose. So keep in mind your lines and then make forms out of them. So there are geometrical, naturalistic, and plant forms. Geometric is circles, square, or regular polygons. So this is actually really geometric, and this is pretty geometric. This is geometric because it's all straight, like square forms. Now, what makes this different from this is the naturalistic form, meandering lines, organic edges, fragmented edges. So this is more informal because of the form of it, because of what you are, what the line is made of, basically. This is more formal because it is very straight and structured. And then you have plant forms, which is a mass or a void. And what you want to think about mass forms is that when you mass plants together of the same kind, it creates form that is more that is stronger than using an individual plant, because if you use individual plants too often, it can create a chaotic look because it's sort of contrasting forms all over the place. If you have a lot of the same plant in one area, that is a form. It makes a shape. Let's see. And then you also need to think about the different viewing perspectives of your form, where, how it's going to look from different angles. So when I'm talking, I keep doing this with my hands. A form is, you're thinking 3D. So, the form compatibility is a major component of unity in design. Unity is one of our principles, which is on the next page or 2 pages. And principles order the elements. So for form compatibility, like I said, is in unity. 1 or 2 strikingly different forms are good for contrast and emphasis. But most forms should have similarities that unify a look. So line and form are 2 of the most important things that you are going to be using to create a plan, and then your idea of what a 3D plan would look like in space. And that's where I start on my bubble diagram. I use the geometric shape, or whatever shape it is, of the house and the patio that's there, whatever I'm keeping, and I draw lines from it. Lines across the backside, lines across the edges, lines down the middle, and that's how I locate my forms. And my patio, for example, in my patio bubble, it gives order. Your building gives order to your form, your lines in your form. And like I said, you can tell when something's out of order. It doesn't feel right. You know there's something wrong there, but maybe you can't put your finger on it. And we'll talk about how to make that not happen in your design. let's see. And one thing you need to know is that line and form are often dictated by a theme. So if you have a Japanese garden, that is a different type of form than a Spanish garden. Your elements will change, your lines and your forms will change based on the theme that you choose. Or you can set the theme by choosing the line and the form. I hope that makes sense. The other design elements are texture, coarse, medium, and fine. Coarse is more dominant. And when I talk about texture, a lot of it is plants, but you can see here, there's very fine rock, very large rock, and then the plants. The coarse is more dominant than fine, and it tends to dominate over color and form. So you see the texture, the coarse texture more than the color and form. Coarse textured plants attract the eye and tend to hold it there. And the shadows that are created by coarse textures create more interest. The other thing is that rough textures minimize distances. So plants that are coarse textured appear closer, and the space feels smaller and enclosed when you have coarse textured plants. In the opposite way, fine textured plants are noticed less than other visual qualities that tend to unify compositions. Fine textures exaggerate difference, so it gives a feeling of a larger or more open space. And then medium texture is just that. It's sort of a filler. A type would be typically rounded or mounding. So here, what I wanted to show you is, if I can get here, different textures, right? Different textures. All of here, different textures, but very similar form. Very similar, 3D, pokey, but very interesting in texture. So we're not overwhelming. Yes.
I hate to interrupt you, but I really don't. I want to, for a point of clarity,
Yeah.
Sandy and Steve are asking, what would an example of a coarse textured plant be?
Okay, sure. Like a split leaf philodendron, I think might be one. It's big, it's got big lobes.
Now, are you saying, and did I hear you say earlier that when the eye hits that, it lingers there longer?
Yeah, it lingers there longer, and it is heavier. It makes more of a difference than color and I think what did I say? Than color and form, I think.
Okay.
So it's go ahead.
Yeah, and then in the top picture there, you were having us look at the coarseness of the brickwork.
Yeah.
And you're saying that almost overrides the plants almost?
It's sort of it looks like most of the plants are kind of fine, okay. in here. There's a couple, medium. Here's maybe a coarser one. It's sort of the medium, coarse, and fine are like leaf sizes and textures. And grass, of course, is fine. It's bigger plants tend to be coarser textured. I would consider these coarser textured.
Really good. So the other thing I have to tell you is that it's 150. And
okay, let me go.
But we're all captivated. So keep on going. Okay.
Okay, I'll try to go faster. Color, like I just said, that's another. I'm going to skip over some of the things that color and visual weight do, but you can go to Dr. Hansen's EDIS documents and read all about it. She has written all about this. So you have monochromatic schemes, analogous schemes, complementary schemes. So, opposite color, next to color, same color, high weight and low weight. High weight is usually, vertical and it's heavy in the section. And then low visual weight is usually horizontal and it feels lighter. Okay, so really quick, the design principles, we have proportion. So these are the things that make people feel at ease and at home in a landscape. And you order your function, your features to fit these principles. So proportion, you feel more comfortable in a human scale. So here, this creates a form where, a human, there's a ceiling, it doesn't go all the way up. There's a ceiling that makes a person feel comfortable. The size of the width of a sidewalk, you want to think about something like that. The width of a sidewalk can make people feel really uncomfortable or, very comfortable, depending on what you do to it, or how you decide to draw it. Human scale, is also, it really makes you feel like you belong in that place. Order is the same as balance. There's symmetrical balance, like here. I have another one that has asymmetrical balance, which is, one type of material and then another type of material, but they balance each other out. Rhythm and repetition, this kind of lets people know what is coming, what is down the road, and it makes people feel comfortable to know that there is a way that things are designed that you can read easily. So repetition in line and form and texture, and repeating these features is repetition and rhythm. And then finally, there's unity and harmony. So you can have unity by dominance, like dominant features create one united block, or unity by interconnection. So the way that the hardscape, continues, that's sort of unity. It's not, really broken up. Unity of three, of course, you hear people say, I have to plant 3 palm trees. I can't have 2, I need 3. 3 is generally more natural. 2 in even numbers is more informal, more formal in even numbers. And then by simplicity, you have harmony by simplicity. So really quick, this is an example of a conceptual design, a very complete conceptual design. But what I want to show you is that there's asymmetrical proportion, or asymmetrical balance along an axis. There is repetition in form. See these, the patterns made by the long rectangle, long rectangle, long rectangle. Same with those. Let's see, and there's unity by interconnection. These things are all connected by pavement. There is a focal point, which would be, a color, for example. You can pick as a focal point, or a texture, or a form. So it's a geometrical form made by straight lines. There are many different textures of plants, from coarse to fine. Color is the focal point. There's a high visual weight in the center, which is okay because it's a focal point. Human size, and then repetition, interconnection. Another example is one that's built. The elements curved line, determined by the hardscape. It adds mystery because you don't know what's up there. Vertical lines are created by the building and the plant. And it's a geometrical form. It's a more formal hardscape, more formal building. You can tell the different textures in plants. So there's like a coarse texture right there. That's a little fine. This is sort of a monochromatic color scheme, and there's high visual weight on both sides. The stairs are sort of a respite from being heavy. It's layered plants, and there's a ceiling, which is a human proportion. Again, it's asymmetrical balance. There's heavy here, repetition in line, and in form, the stairs, and then unity by interconnection again, and continuation of lines. The hardscapes are linked together. So what you want to think about site conditions, consider the footprint of the house and the ecological conditions and where you have site problems. Those will basically make you pick a spot for your features almost automatically, especially in a design like this that I did for Dr. Hansen. You know, I called out that I wanted a multi-trunk tree that's flowering, has canopy above, and is a warm color, because warm colors are more, you use them in entertaining. Ground cover, that's more formal. So I'm not picking species, I'm picking forms and shapes, and I'm ordering them by principle. Okay, so I'm going to skip over that. And also these things, site conditions, function, aesthetics, and maintenance, are all jumbled up into one sometimes. One affects the other. So you have to think really hard about you know, what the consequences of your design. So for order, you want to design rooms. Here's an open space, here's dining space, a garden space, you know, an entry space. Notice how there is continuity in the paving on all of the social spaces. So, okay, and then there's also an axis, which you might not see, but it goes right through the middle of the door, right through the middle of the open space, and right through the middle of the end. And that's why this is a pleasing design, because it makes sense. If you move this axis, you know, to one of the other walls, it doesn't line up, it doesn't form. So let's see. Incompatible uses should be separated from one another. Related activities like cooking and dining should be you know, together. Connections, you can see on the map, there are connections, easy connections to all features through all of the landscape. You can connect through lines and focal points, repetition of elements, and organizational structure. The aesthetics of a place. Genus loci means sense of place. It's based on your neighborhood style or your regional ecology. You have, here's Miami, here is Savannah, here is coastal Washington, or I'm so sorry, coastal Maine. Which architectural styles do you like? Which architectural styles fit or what is your architectural house style? What landscapes go with that architectural style? And what fits into your neighborhood? Because they're all related. You want to have a sense of place. You want to have something that represents where you are. Aesthetics, so a theme, you might want to design based on a theme. It could be natural or formal, an historical style, you know, like Victorian, Spanish. This is an example of a Spanish concept design. You know, you can tell because there are rounded terraces, you know, what's that called? Not a trellis, but the patio, there's front living space. There's an actual living room in the front. There are walls that are common and planters that are common in Spanish design.
Were you trying to say pergola?
What was that? Was
it pergola?
Pergola? Is that?
Pergola. Was it a pergola?
Oh, pergola. Yes, that's exactly. Yes, okay. That's the word. So like I said, theme often dictates line, shape, and form. So here, obviously, we have to use the form that is related to the theme. And all types of cultural styles have those. So if you want a cultural landscape, you need to research what the forms are and what the features are. You know, there's a water fountain or a water feature here because a lot of Spanish houses or areas have water features. And think about if your theme is going to make the maintenance more difficult. So yeah, here's a water feature you got to take care of now. You know, is what type of material is this going to be? Is it going to be easy to maintain, hard to maintain? You've got planters now, the edges or the walls have to stay clean. You know, how easy is it going to be to get into this walled area to take care of these plants? So those are things that are FFL related. that fit with that you have to think about when you're choosing a theme and a form and a structure. Again, here's natural versus formal. You can see all the, curvy lines, clusters of plants. Here, the hardscape and the lawns are all squared. Everything is squared. That's natural versus formal. Maintenance logistics, you want to make sure you have space for tools and machinery on your conceptual plan. You're going to have to predetermine what the maintenance is going to be so you can plan for that equipment. And then time constraints. When you're thinking of conceptual design, maintenance is an FFL concept, and you have to think of who's going to maintain it and how long it's going to take to maintain. And those are essential for FFL design. Really quick, again, maintenance, the design can have an effect on maintenance. Can you imagine in these circles having to cut this lawn? I mean, there are 4 lawns. There are like little edges everywhere, and then a tree in the middle of, of the lawn, which makes it hard to mow around or weed whack around. Again, functional turf, theme element and maintenance, if there's a pond, for example, and then adjacent materials might make it difficult to maintain. And I'll show you a picture of that in just a second. So what we did is we considered FFL in each design phase, site inventory, program, bubble diagram, conceptual plan, and final design. FFL was considered in each design goal: site analysis, which is ecology, social and ecological function, aesthetic site layout based on the ecology and the issues on the site, and then the consideration of maintenance. You can design in features that don't take large inputs. You can plan for maintenance at the very beginning, and how you're going to maintain it, what inputs you're going to put in based on what forms and lines and materials that you use. So solid design concepts result in good landscape design. Good landscape design equals social and psychological comfort through visual cues that help people feel comfortable in the outside. So pulling it together, this is final design. What you do basically is you have plants and you have hardscape. Now you're getting into the details. Now you pick your species. Now you pick your finishes and your lights and your families of furniture. You pick plants based on fitting the site conditions, right plant, right place. Also, hydrozoning in the same bed. You pick palettes that meet your design requirements, aesthetics, and functions, like we just said: vertical, horizontal, massing, and then function and theme. And then you pick plants that also support your maintenance goals. Hardscape is the same thing. Those are the things you want to choose. Now, what you want to consider FFL-wise in your palettes, you want to maybe pick zero inputs, hydrozoning, hardiness zone, put biodiversity in whenever possible. You want to support wildlife and plants in your plant selection. No invasives, obviously drought tolerant and disease resistant. And of course, consider the mature sizes and draw those on the plan when you're making your plan. Not the size they are now, but the mature sizes. And I'm not going to go any farther with that because you all know how to pick plants for a site. Just remember your overall goal of aesthetics. And then hardscape. FFL is a porous, hardscape whenever possible. Ecologically sensitive materials like non-toxic and sustainable materials. Can you reuse or recycle materials or demolition? And then consider hardscape color and material for microclimates to make it interesting. This is a Flip My Florida Yard design that I did. You can see it's the final landscape design. I've listed my common name, my scientific name, how many there are, what the spacing is, and how many gallons I want that to be. When you're picking plants choose function, and purpose, screening, enhancing views, filtration, erosion control and shade, non-toxic plants if there are pets and children. Hardscapes, you choose materials that don't hinder wheelchair movement or create unstable surfaces. If entertaining, you want to think about maybe heels on turf or the height of a seat wall. Those are all human size. Let's see, and then choose materials that are comfortable physically and mentally. And then also consider, if you are having irrigation and the appropriate FFL design. Like I said, in hardscape, you'll pick these, these are part of what you'll pick. You want to pick them in families. So you don't want to pick 8 different styles of lights. You want to pick one different style, an uplight, a downlight, and a post light. And you want to consider ecologically, what if you're on a beach? What kind of lighting do you need then? You need lighting that's not going to mess with the turtle habitat. You don't want to light pollute. You don't want to have them coming the wrong way. It's the same with these. Pick in families, and like I said, repeat and put the same elements in different places, and it makes a cohesive design. So in the element details, there are choices you can make to incorporate FFL principles and sustainability through energy use of your your lighting or your fountains, water use based on what plant species you determine, material sustainability, your carbon footprint, and wildlife are all things that these details will FFL considers in these details. And I think the last thing, this is what I meant by adjacent materials. If you have a kid, that kid is going to be in that stone and it's going to be all over the yard. And then you go to mow it and it shoots out everywhere and breaks windows. And you have to consider what your users will do with the materials that you choose. Space plants away from the house, mature size. Other things that deciduous versus evergreen, and clean versus dirty plants and trees. Are you going to want to rake? Are you not going to want to rake? Do you want to see the branches? Do you not want to see the branches? What fits with your theme? Use perennials whenever possible. Choose plants that don't need to be trimmed. Like, this is serious maintenance right here. And I wanted to show that just because of this. It's very geometrical. It's a theme, but this is a very labor-intensive theme. Choose hardy materials. Let's see. Okay, and then this is like a formal landscape design that I did for Flip My Florida Yard. You can see how I've called out the different, plants and the numbers. There are only a few hardscape details. So what we just did, this is wrapping up, landscape design step by step that results in a healthy, functional, and pleasing landscape. Successful design goals for each step, and then FFL success through each goal and each phase, so that it is layered into the very beginning of your design. And what that does is like from beginning to end, this design has been viewed through a Florida-friendly lens. You have looked at the Florida-friendly options along with the design. And because FFL is considered throughout the design, ecology and resource health and are, among the bones of the design. So creating a healthy, functional, and beautiful place to be that is easily maintained using FFL principles, that is successful FFL design. So making people feel comfortable so that they are out in nature and learning to love it, so they protect it, and incorporating the things that save our natural elements and natural beauty. Those combined make successful FFL. So, whew.
Great job, Jen. Everybody is loving it. Somebody said that this was a life-altering presentation for them in the chat box. People are
That's so nice.
Just so much information. And someone mentioned, and I think we have to work on this. It was so much information in a dense package. I think we would like to maybe extend this to a 2-hour presentation in the future. Maybe
I would love to do it,
or a training where we could just really, digest and consume it. So
there's so many things I wanted to tell you, and I kind of skipped over, but it is definitely a longer presentation than what I made. I packed too much in, and I
no, it's marvelous. And so you're such an amazing resource, and she's not going anywhere. We've got her here. She's a captive audience, so we can tap on her whenever we want. So I have a couple of questions. Somebody was wondering about the use of drones for flyover and getting visuals. Is that kind of coming into favor?
Yeah. You can use drones. You can also use Google Earth. Depending on how wooded your area is and how old the picture is. So I have actually done designs off of Google Earth.
Cool. Cool. And then another question was, do you have a recommended off-the-shelf landscaping software that would be appropriate for homeowners, even just for bubble design?
I'm sorry, what did you say about bubble design?
I said even one that might include bubble design.
You know what? I don't, but let me look at that and I will let you know, and then you can let me know. I use AutoCAD, but it's because that is the standard for the industry, and honestly, I've lost my touch in every other software. So it is good to have a software because you can easily scale things. They have templates of plants, and it's a good idea. So I'll look into it.
Yes. And I think that, somebody wants you to move in with them for a year, which is nice.
That's so sweet.
So the other question, I have to ask is the Florida friendly lens on this, how are developers and builders, are they more likely to are they including these design elements more for Florida friendly?
Sometimes. And our clue, our organization that we're under, works on that. We have people who talk to builders and developers and help them make those decisions in an easy and cost-effective way. That's the big thing, is the cost. And it doesn't cost anymore, but it might be harder to get the plants. People don't know how to maintain it. When it's all natives, for example, they kind of revert back. But when you layer the Florida friendly in with it, you get an idea of how it functions and how the landscape needs to be taken care of from the very beginning. So they are starting to include those. I think if we include it in just the design process in general, it's easier to understand. And landscape architects really want to do it. I mean, we're all for this. I go to the conference and they are all over our booth. They use the same materials that you guys use.
Great. Speaking of that materials, most people have requested a PDF of your presentation. We'd like to post that with the recording. Sure. So that'll be posted with the recording that's on the Master Gardener website.
Sure.
And Jen, I think you and I are going to do a roadshow coming up in 2024, debuting the new checklist and training people on how to be yard consultants and evaluators for the checklist. So Jen and I will be coming to a region near you in 2024. We're going to get those. Cynthia wants to know where we're going. We will pick a local county extension office that's kind of something. We'll do one in the south, one in the central, and one in the north, and try to invite people over so they can learn how to do the new checklist.
Yeah. Yep. Right. It'll be good. We'll train you guys up. And if if you have any other questions, I'm willing to take, email, however we do it is fine. And I'll make the presentation available.
Okay, good. Jen, thank you so much, and we will see you soon. And thank you
Okay.
for the presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Sure, bye-bye.